No, we're still a little flaky there. That's a surprise. You ready? All right, hit me. Oh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're pleased to have our Wayne County Manager with us today, Mr. George Wood. George, how you doing?
Fine, Wayne. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for coming in. We had a commissioners meeting earlier this week. We just want to cover some of the highlights of that meeting, some things that were happening. It seems that for several of the meetings, we have had people come in from the Canterbury Village and the other neighborhood, and they're concerned about and trying to remedy the problems they're having with their streets in the neighborhood. And this is an ongoing problem and has been for many years. The North Carolina Department of Transportation is involved with this,
Right.
and they're involved simply because Wayne County is we're not a county. In fact, none of the counties in North Carolina are highway or street maintenance counties.
That's correct. And that
we don't do
confuses
that.
some people who move in from another state, because in some states you do have county roads, but not in North Carolina.
Not in North Carolina. None of the counties do. So where do we stand on this? These two neighborhoods trying to get their streets fixed. And
Yeah, we have researched it, found the state statute that applies to it, and it calls for a petition method for doing this. And they have to send us a petition with 75% of the property owners, but also representing 75% of the actual land that fronts on the streets.
okay.
So there are two thresholds they have to meet. This petition did meet that. The problem is that when we had the DOT come in and do an estimation on the cost, it was a little over $3 million and 121 lots. And so when you do the math, it's just a little under $25,000 per lot.
Ooh.
And while we can spread those assessments out over 10 years, that's still a tremendous amount of money.
Yes, it is.
For people to pay. So what we decided to do, the board decided to do, was that we would hire our own engineer to do that.
Okay.
And so they've authorized me to do that. There's a provision in state law that normally we have to go through a RFQ process. We advertise, we have to go through an interview process, and you can't take price into account on professional services. So then you pick one, then I'm supposed to negotiate with them, bring that back to the board. That's a very lengthy process, but in the statutes there's a provision for an exemption to that if the fee is going to be under $50,000, which it will be in this case. So we were able to move forward. We have about 3 firms we ask for proposals from, and in this case, when you're exempted like that, you can have them include the price along with their professional qualifications. So the planner and I are going to meet. In fact, we're meeting this afternoon to try to nail down who we're going to hire for that. So we've got that in the works. The commission did pass to give us that exemption at the last meeting. At this last meeting, Tuesday, we had on to continue the public hearing, which we had called back, I believe it was late February.
Right.
And the reason for that is we don't have the dollar figures yet because the engineer is just now being hired. So we've tabled this until, I believe it's the second meeting in June, and he should have his work done and have a pretty good cost estimate for us at that point. At that time, Wayne, what we'll do is we'll add in the advertising cost and a few other things, plus his fee, divide that by the 121 lots, and that'll be the new assessment figure. We'll mail those out to all 121 lot owners, notify them of the public hearing, and at that point they'll come in and they can tell us either by contacting the county clerk or coming to the meeting and telling us if they still want to be on the petition or not. Because the whole purpose of the second public hearing is to give them a realistic number and then say, all right, now that you know the price, do you want to go ahead or not?
Right.
So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And so we had to delay it one more time. I originally had it on there to delay it indefinitely until I had the engineer's estimate in hand.
Yeah.
But the county attorney overruled me and said we have to have a date and time certain, so we put it in late June.
What does he know?
A lot.
I know.
Apparently more than the county manager.
Well, let me say this about that. I have seen all the meetings where this has been brought up.
Yeah.
And at first, the residents of those communities coming to the meetings seemed to be a little irritated about all this. However, I must say that they're getting the attention I think that
Yeah.
they well deserve. And this is a lengthy, drawn-out process.
Well, it is.
And they're
It's
a lot friendlier than they were.
Yeah, it
about
is a very detailed legal process. The notifications have to be right. Everything has to be done properly from a legal standpoint. And DOT is still involved because ultimately the engineer has to do it to their satisfaction.
Right.
Because the whole purpose of this is to put the roads into condition satisfactory to DOT.
Right, which would include if there are mailboxes out there.
Yes,
of
and that's driving the cost up. You've
Yeah.
got to recut ditches. If you have mailboxes that are encroaching,
Yeah.
if the driveway piping is too undersized to handle the drainage,
Mm-hmm.
all of those are issues that have to be addressed in this. So it's not simply going in and redoing the pavement itself.
Right. Wow. The meeting was not a long meeting necessarily, but there were several resolutions
Yes.
that were addressed by commissioners. Give us an idea of some of the things they covered.
Well, two in particular I think the public would be interested in. One is when we go to do two major capital projects, and these are the Maxwell Regional Agricultural and Convention Center,
Right.
and the other is a new 911 center, and I'll get into the need for that later. But in looking at those, what state law allows us to do is pass a resolution saying that we intend to reimburse the county funds from those debt issuances at a later time. What that allows us to do is go ahead and use some money we have on hand to start those projects and then do the actual financing later. And the reason we wanted to do that on the MRAC, which is the Maxwell Regional Agricultural and Convention Center, the reason we wanted to do that is we've already, of course, had an architect well underway on that. We are shortly going to be doing the bidding out on the site work. Probably will crank up the site work sometime in June.
Oh, yeah.
But we really don't want to bid it out until we get all the bids in, because we're using a construction manager at risk this
Right.
time. They'll bid everything out in August, and so I really don't want to go to the bond market until I know exactly what the cost is going to be.
Right.
So this allows us to do that. The second one is the 911 center. We've got a situation where we've outgrown our 911 center here. It's in the Jeffers building, and it's not in a position where we can expand it. So in addition, the state has come down and said you've got to have a secondary 911 center.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Oh.
And so since that one, we have a hard time trying to expand it. We're gonna make that the backup center, and we're gonna move to another location. The board accepted our recommendation to put it somewhere near our Public Works facility. The reason for that had nothing to do with Public Works. It has to do with our communications towers right there.
Right.
And the closer we are to that, the cheaper it is to get the lines to it and all that. So we've got 5 different options. We've got 3 buildings over there that we might be able to renovate, and then we've got 2 possible sites to build from scratch.
Right.
So we're doing the same thing there, is allowing us to start those processes and then reimburse ourselves later with money from the bond issues.
Let's back up just a moment. The regional agriculture, Maxwell Regional Agricultural and Convention Center, you mentioned the construction manager at risk. Cover that for us one more time. What does that mean exactly? What does
Well,
he
it's
do?
a little different from the normal process. The normal process would be the architect designs the building, prepares all of the bid documents, we put it out for bid, and then licensed contractors bid on it.
Right.
We award it to the lowest bidder, and then they construct it. And the architect is paid to oversee and inspect their work, and then signs off on it. So that's the standard way.
Right.
There's a provision in state law that allows us to use what's called a construction manager at risk, and what that is that you have the same you have the architect. They designed the building, but they do it in concert with the construction manager at risk. You select a construction manager at risk on qualifications, and then we have to negotiate a fee with them. And we've been through that process. We've negotiated the fee. Then they come on board. They review at 3 different stages. They review the architect's plans and make recommendations for some people call it value engineering, where can we use different materials, can we use a different method of building, something that won't hurt the integrity of the building but could save us some money. And so we're in that process now, and then they take the place of the general contractor.
Right.
The difference is the county does not bid out all of the subcontractors, the CMAR does. But they're done on sealed bids. We're in the room, we get to see all the bids, and we make sure they take the lowest responsible bid.
Okay.
So we are getting bids to control the pricing. The only part of the pricing on the project that's not controlled by bids is the contract with the CMAR, and that's negotiated, just like with the architect.
Okay, very good. Okay, I want to ask you one final thing. I heard or noticed that the Advanced Manufacturing Center came into, was mentioned at the, in fact, a resolution brought up regarding something called Brownsfield. What is that?
Well, a brownfield is when if you have, it can even be a very minor amount of contamination, which is the case there. As you know, we bought the old Cooper Busman building for that. So whenever you have an industrial building like that, you're going to have some traces of contamination.
Right.
When we found that, there's one or two things can happen. The state can order you as the owner to clean all that up. Or if it's a minor amount and you're taking steps not to disturb it, then you can enter into what's called a brownfield agreement with the department, and what that basically says is they can't come in and force us to clean it up.
Oh, okay.
And so it's worth having a brownfield agreement, because then you don't have to worry about the regulators coming in later and requiring that to be cleaned up.
And that's simply because it's just a small amount.
It's a small amount. There are really trace elements there. There's no way you can run an industrial concern for 40 or 50 years and not have some of that. So that's what we were doing there. And on the building, we are completing phase 1 and 3 with our forces and some with the college's forces. And after that, they're now in the for phases 2 and then 4 through 8, they're in the process of hiring an architect now.
Oh.
Now for them, it's a very cumbersome process, because they have to go through the state construction office, because they are a state agency, as you know. So they would not allow them to start the process until they found out if the bonds passed or not. Of course, the bonds did pass. The college has set aside, out of their $5.8 million, they're to give $1.6 million will go to this Advanced Manufacturing Center. So that additional funding is there. We're ready to hire the architect. The school will hire the architect, oversee the work, and they had to do that because they're using state bond money. So it could not be a county project, had to be their project. But so that project is ready to move forward as well.
Wow, a lot of things going on.
A lot going on.
A lot going on here in Wayne County. And we're talking to the gentleman who runs the county. We're talking to the county manager.
Okay.
Okay.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis, yeah. Anyway, County Manager George Wood, our guest today, and I appreciate very much your coming in. We're always busy here in Wayne County.
We are.
Always something going on. You're invited to attend the Wayne County Commissioners Board of Commissioners meeting. It's twice a month, the first and third Tuesday of each month, with an agenda briefing beginning at 8, the regular meeting beginning at 9. And of course, as always, if you have any questions at all, you can email or you can call the Wayne County Manager's office, 919-731-1435. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, 919-731-1435. And we appreciate very much your coming in.
Glad to do it, Wayne.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.